Hello everyone, welcome to this session on bodyweight strength supersets. There are 6 pairs of supersets to complete. Each exercise will last 40 seconds with a 30-second rest between the pair supersets. Okay, so here goes our first superset. The first exercise of the set is called a Hindu. So notice I place my hands just outside of shoulder width, my feet are much wider than my hips. Notice I'm creating a wave pattern here with my head, chest and then hips. You can see here I'm doing a reverse Hindu, which is slightly harder, so choose your option where I'm doing hips, chest and then head. So as I come forward again, notice as I've done my wave, I push the hips back and up, stretch out the lats. This is a fantastic exercise for mobilization of the shoulders, the thoracic spine, in the hips. You'll feel it through the hamstrings. Keep the bend in the elbows. Well done. Exercise number 2 of the superset is a frog squat. So my feet are outside of hip width, slightly turned out on the toes. I place my elbows on the inside of my thighs and I pivot on my hips. So notice my head comes down and my hips come up, and then my chest comes up and my hips go down towards my feet. So I'm pivoting. So it's not a stereotypical squat, I'm pivoting here. Amazing for mobilization of the hips, the hamstrings, the lower back. 40 seconds worth. It's all about range, so pull the hips down to the bum, straighten up the legs so you feel a stretch through your hamstring. Well done. You now have a 30-second breather. Feel free to grab a sip of water or towel yourself down. Get your breath back, open out your lungs. On to superset number 2. So we're going to do a lunge into a knee balance. So single leg balance after the lunge. Notice on the lunge, both knees bend to the point where the back knee comes to the floor, the back foot is on the toes, and as I bring the knee up, I'm balanced on the single leg. I lift the knee as high as I can. There's no break in the repetitions. I'm actually focusing on one leg on this set because when you do another round of the superset, you can choose the other leg. The lunge is supersetted with a side plank and a leg lift. So you've got various options here. You can come onto your knees if you wish, if the full side plank is too much. My elbow is underneath my shoulder, my hips are high and forward. My leg is lifting as high as I can into the air while I stabilize the torso and the hips. Do a smaller, don't lift your foot quite as high if you want to regress it, or as I said, feel free to come down to your knees and just lift the knee up into the air as an easier option. On to superset number 3. So press ups, stirrup press ups. So my hands are just outside of shoulder width, nice and wide. My chest is coming down to the floor, so I'm getting a full range. My elbows are going wide. Here I'm showing a fairly hard option. It's 40 seconds worth, it's elevated, so I'm elevating my feet. But notice my feet, my hips and my torso all move in one line. Feel free to bring the feet to the floor, or if you want to regress it even further, bring your knees to the floor, but we should expect a full depth where the chest goes to the floor. 40 seconds worth. We're supersetting the press-ups with heel taps. So I lie down on my back, my palms are either up or down. Here, I'm going to lower my heels down towards the floor, but what's important here is the natural arch in my lower back doesn't accentuate anymore. So to do that, I need to pull my belly button in and down as I lower my heels. I'm going to lift my feet up together as high as I can. Notice the tempo is very slow and controlled, feeling through the abs. If you need to regress it slightly more, then bend the knees so they're at 90 degrees so the heels aren't going out quite as far. Superset number 4. So the first exercise of this superset is a squat, hold and leg extension. My chest is lifted, I pull my hips as far down as I can, and while I'm in that low squat position, I'm going to extend one foot at a time. As I extend the foot, my toes are pointed upwards, and I'm just going to lightly tap my heel. And as I tap one foot, the opposite and standing leg must stabilize. So I'm really going to feel that through my quads, through my core. If you need to regress it slightly, then don't extend the leg quite as far, or just stay a little bit further up in the squat and slowly work down to the We superset this with a walking plank. So my elbows are underneath my shoulders. Here you can see I'm walking my feet backwards as my shoulders and my elbows are fixed. Notice I've got a regress version here if you wish, just to rock forward and backwards. If you can though, let's walk it as far back as you can. As you walk back, you really feel that elongate the abdominals in a very functional way. Walk it forward as far as you can and walk it back for the full 40 seconds. If you want to regress it, go to the rock version. If you need to regress the plank even more, then just hold a plank on your knees. Superset number 5. So the first exercise of this superset is called a rock press. I've gone very, very wide with my feet. My hands are down on the floor of the mat. Notice I'm hinging in my hips, so my skull and the top of my head is going down as far as I can. Here I'm now going to show you a progressive version where I'm going to elevate my feet. I'm walking my hands backwards. I'm almost at 90 degrees in my torso and my legs. Again, full range, so the elbows bend, the head comes down to the floor, and fully straighten the arms, really working the shoulders and the triceps. A fantastic exercise for the upper body. So feel free to choose the options you wish. We superset the rock press with reverse ab lifts. I'm lying down on my back, torso down, head down, palms down. I'm going to lift the heels into the sky as far as I can, and I control the descent, lift and control. Lift the hips into the air and the feet and control the descent. Lift as high as you can. The hips almost lift towards the ribs. You should feel this in the lower abdominals as the 40 seconds continues. If you wish to regress, have more of a bend in the knees so the legs aren't quite as straight. Well done. Grab your 30-second breather as we move on to our last superset. Superset number 6. We start with a prone tricep extension. So, in a plank position where my elbows are underneath my shoulders, my head, hips and feet are all in line, there's no dipping of the hips or rising of the hips. I could be on my knees here as a regress version. What I do is the contact points are my hands, so I extend the elbows and straighten up the hands from that plank position. Really getting into the triceps, the back of the arms and the shoulders, feeling that through the core. Trying to keep the elbows pinned in as much as I can if I want to feel that even more through my triceps. As an option, you can drop down to your knees if you start to feel this too much and you lose form. We now superset this with side squat walk. So I'm going to come down into the squat as much as I can, chest lifted, hips pulled down towards the heels. In that low squat stance, I'm going to walk sideways over around a 5 meter distance. From side to side. If you need to break, then stand up at one end, take a breather, and then come back down into the squat. But try and maintain that low squat position to really get into the top of the legs and the quads. Feel that through posture as well. A nice tough one to finish. That's one round complete. Take a minute break. Repeat the round 4 to 6 times depending on your level.